Hello everyone, my name is Sheye Sandy. I would like to start off by saying thank you to members of the SLOGA Ireland Chapter for this initiative. So I will talk a little bit about myself. I attended St. Louis Grammar School, Mokola, Ibadan, from September 1973 through June 1978. While I was in school, my name was Sheye Odumosu, and I was head girl in my final year in school. Since I left St. Louis in 1978, by the grace of God, I have acquired a couple of degrees and a professional qualification. So I'm a chartered accountant by training, and my professional work experience has been very varied. I have worked in several countries across the continent of Africa and in North America. In 2014, after 20 years of service, I retired from the Coca-Cola Company as Finance Operations Director for Africa and relocated from my work location in Johannesburg, South Africa, to my home country, Nigeria. So I presently live in Lagos, Nigeria. I'm married to a wonderful gentleman who is a retired airline pilot, and we're blessed with two wonderful children who are now young adults, a man and a woman. While in St. Louis, I was in the boarding house, though for 2 terms, when I was in Form 2, I was a day student for health reasons. But as soon as the health issues were resolved, I moved back into the boarding house. My transition into boarding house was a very smooth and satisfying one. I guess I had been looking forward to going to boarding school. I have 3 older sisters who had been in boarding house at Queen's School, Ibadan. And they always came home with very exciting stories about their escapades that made me look forward to the day I would also go to boarding school. So I settled very quickly and nicely into boarding life in St. Louis. In terms of extracurricular activities while I was in school, under the tutelage of Sister Galgani of blessed memory, I learned to play the piano and the guitar, and sat for some levels of the practical and theory exams of the Royal School of Music, London. I remember Sister Galgani also enrolled a few of us in the University of Ibadan Music Circle, where we participated in the presentation of some classical concerts to members of the public. I sang alto, and some of the concerts we presented were Messiah, an oratorio composed by George Handel, which I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with, and Hiawatha's Wedding Feast, a cantata by Samuel Taylor. My fondest memories and the school traditions that are still most dear to my heart are definitely the performances and musical shows. I remember we used to have an arts festival, which was a celebration of culture, music, and dance, and of course the Christmas Carol concerts that would involve the whole school arranged on the stage in the refectory with a special choir in the middle. The preparations for these events were very exciting, and the climax was always having our parents come to watch us on performance day and then beaming with such great delight and pride at our performances. These were indeed very exciting times. While we were in school, we had some really good teachers, and these teachers impacted my life personally, but I will call out specifically 2 of my teachers. The first would be Mrs. Ogunroti, who was my geography and Yoruba teacher. Mrs. Ogunroti was very firm, and she was a disciplinarian. I guess this was good for us at the time because we were young girls growing up and we were full of mischief. Yoruba was one of the subjects I offered for O-levels. And I remember she used to say I was so good at reading Yoruba, and it was a delight for her to listen to me. So she would call on me a lot to read in class when we were in Form 5. I remember we read Igbo Olodumare by D.O. Fagunwa. The other teacher I would talk about would be Mrs. Aga. Mrs. Aga was my English and literature teacher. Mrs. Aga was also my house mistress. I was in Abeokuta house. Mrs. Aga was interested in our well-being and development as girls, and she taught us how to comport and project ourselves in public. I remember in 1987, when I was getting married, My sister, who lives in Ibadan, ran into Mrs. Aga just before my wedding and just mentioned to her that I was getting married in Lagos. Mrs. Aga took the details, and lo and behold, on my wedding day, there was Mrs. Aga. She had traveled all the way from Ibadan to attend my wedding in Lagos, despite the fact that I had not seen her since I left St. Louis in 1978. This is something I would never forget, and this speaks to the level of love and the depth of care and interest Mrs. Aga took in our well-being and progress. Thank you very much, Mrs. Ogunroti and Mrs. Aga, and thank you to all our teachers who impacted our lives positively. And yes, I have a word for the sisters of St. Louis, the sisters of St. Louis. I feel so thankful and blessed that St. Louis sisters, and in particular, Sister Dimna Duri, the matriarch of St. Louis Grammar School, Mokola, Ibadan, would leave home and family at such tender ages. You can imagine a lot of them must have been in their early to late 20s when they came to set up schools on continents, in countries, cities, and even villages they had never been, just so that girl children like myself in the remotest corners of the world would get the best of education. For me, this is a physical demonstration of the love of God. Thank you so much for your love and sacrifice. Your selflessness has ignited a blaze within our hearts by the grace of God, and we continue on a daily basis in our different spheres and vocations to pass the torch to those after us and even to generations yet unborn. God bless the sisters of St. Louis and Sister Dimna Duri for this sacrifice of love and selflessness. May your labor of love continue to stand as a memorial for you before our God in heaven. Amen. I'd like to talk about, my friends for life, as I would describe them. I made a lot of friends while I was in St. Louis. I still keep in touch with quite a number of my classmates, but I would call out 4 of my friends, specifically. The first I would call out in no particular order would be Yinka Sandy. Yinka is now Mrs. Oshutogun. And as you can tell from her maiden name, I'm married to Yinka's older brother. And I guess after 33 years of marriage, you could really say, we're stuck for life. My second friend I would talk about is Kende Fakoya. Kende is now Mrs. Adeniran. Kende was my chief bridesmaid 33 years ago when I got married. My third friend is Shade Babalola, who is now Mrs. Shade Ali. And my fourth friend, not the least, of course, is Yinka Banjo, who is now Professor Omigbodun. Yinka is a professor of psychiatry at the University College Hospital in Ibadan. And Yinka was assistant head girl, when I was head girl in 1978. I have a word for the girls who are presently in the school. In our time in St. Louis, Mokola, Ibadan, we had great values passed on to us by Sister Dimna Duri and our other teachers. And these values have helped us in our journey through the vicissitudes of life. I remember vividly a personal parting gift I received from Sister Dimna when I passed out of the school in 1978. It was a poster of the Desiderata poem, which sums up really the values of the school. Values of truth, humble confidence, compassion for others, especially those weaker than us, honesty, integrity, and above all, spirituality. I'm glad that the current principal of the school is an old pupil who was also exposed to the same values, and I'm sure she's working to ensure a revival of these values. Yes, I know a lot of things have changed, and things are really no longer the way they used to be, but I'm sure there is a lot of good still to be achieved with what we have. I will advise the current girls not just to pass through the school, but also to allow the school and its values pass through them. They will find great benefit in these values as they journey through life, just like those of us before them. And before I close, I'd like to sing a song that was one of the songs that, we sang while I was in school between 1973 and 1978. And if you know the song, please just sing along with me. Ọba rere wa gbọ́, Ọba rere wa gbọ́, fire fún wa lónìí, dákun o, yé bàbá o. Ire, ire o bá, ire owó ni, ire o bàbá, ire ọmọ ni, ire o bàbá, wá gbàdúrà. Ire tí ń bẹ lókè, èyí tí ń bẹ nísàlẹ̀ má fi wá sílẹ̀, bàbá má fi wá sílẹ̀, bàbá. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share, and thank you for listening. God bless you.